See, if you gave me £15,000 tomorrow and told me to start a UK Airbnb, I wouldn't go London. I would not even go to Manchester. I'd go to one specific UK city and one specific postcode inside it that most hosts have never looked at it properly. Now I'm going to show you the city in about 30 seconds. The postcode, I'll save it for the end of the video. Look, I'm gonna ask Claude what makes Bath an interesting UK Airbnb city in 2026. I'm gonna ask them for demand, average nightly rate, who actually visits, and one thing most hosts actually get wrong about it. Now I'll ask it for its best answer because, see, the idea here is, like, when I say this is going to be your pocket mentor for less than, what, 20 quid? I know their pros like 20 quid a month. It's gonna give you the best advice that most combined mentors in the UK would probably not have. So the fact that you can now run this, everything I do here will be, you'll be able to do that in your investment area, by the way. So exactly all the prompt that I'm gonna share, you'll go through this in this video today, but you can see here, firstly, demand. Growing faster than supply can keep up. What a great news. Bath has around over 1,000 active listing and supply grew over 27.2% over the past year. Oh my God, like, it's amazing data that you're getting. Average nightly rate, premium for a non-London city. So again, like, if you look at around £152 with an average of 70% occupancy rate. Look, there's so much data that you can talk about here. Who visits? So it's actually telling it's international tourist, which is true. There's some kind of, I think, yeah, so Jane Austen's fan. I think there's like history museums and stuff like that you can go to as well. Weekend leisure guests from London, stag and hen parties. And there's some foodies and spargo. See, I would have never thought about this as well. So again, a completely different type of guest behavior, but really great info. See, I'm so excited about what this shows. What host actually gets wrong. I guess like I would kind of guess it. I think it would be more people treating it as like a single seasonal market. But then it says about here, like the quieter midweek outside those peak season. You've got host statics in winter, leave serious money on the table during Christmas market, then overprice midweek January when the city goes quiet. The host winning in Bath is using dynamic pricing, which is very true, very important in a city like Bath. Yeah, and look, what a great information. Weekend high volume tourists, which means weekdays rates should often be priced down aggressively to fill the, 100%, but then also it depends on how customers find you, guests find you, and all that kind of stuff. But really great information that you can start with. See, look at that, right? Nearly £152 a night. It talks about couples on weekend breaks, tourism, like obviously business travelers, and the city that never actually empties out. Now, for me, I think this is so interesting because most people assume Bath is like too expensive or too small for Airbnb, but they never run their numbers actually properly. And there are two major things I wanted to share you in this video. So the 2018 model where the owners, the rent-to-rent owners, the management company will always say to you, it's not good anymore because they were blessed with higher profits and not a lot of competition, to be honest. So see, the constant change in new rules, like obviously regulations from like council tax to business rate, most old operators aren't optimized with all of that. So you are gonna be winning already. And what I do throughout this video with Claude, by the way, you can do it in your next potential location because the whole point is to get the best result and understanding before you go and invest. Now, quick hello, if we haven't met, my name is Piers BK. I run Grow Your BNB and Automate Your BNB since 2018, and we've worked with clients absolutely globally. Now, see, Bath isn't a city I work every day, by the way, but I have worked and helped clients, properties there, especially because, like I said, look, you've got the day-to-day, like the peak season working anyway, but most people don't know how to leverage the winter season there. Now, what I'm going to do in the next 9 minutes is research Bath with you live in Claude, the same way I would do if I was about to invest my own money. Yes, now buying in Bath is gonna cost you a lot of money, right? But it's a beautiful city, desirable properties, and if you go deeper, all clever investors are maximizing on Airbnb and short-term rental. Now, if buying isn't your option, you have two options, right? Either be a co-host to a potentially tired landlord who doesn't want to do it anymore, or offer them a guaranteed rent and take over their property, which is exactly why this episode connects to the last one I did. Remember the ladder, right? You can go co-host first, obviously do rent to rent. If you want to scale, do management, and then eventually you can become a owner of that property. Now, with £15,000 in Bath, or like in most cities in the UK, you need to probably start on the bottom of the ladder, right? Where it actually starts to pay you. Then you can start climbing through all the other different strategies. And the city is actually so good and so under talked about that it's worth starting there, even if you can only afford to start a simpler rent-to-rent model. So the idea is I want you to talk to you about using Claude to understand demand, the competition, the potential payoff, and a little confession to make to understand how it works. So let's start with the demand. The first step in researching any city is finding potentially the actual demand. Now, most places, by the way, have some kind of demand, but the question is, what is that kind? All right, now let me take you to Claude again, and I'm gonna ask saying for Bath, UK in 2026, what is the realistic occupancy rate for a one-bed Airbnb to run well? Who's actually booking? When do they come? And give me a calendar fill. What does the demand look like across the whole year? See, the whole idea here, again, I keep repeating myself in this video, but the idea is why have to wait for those data to go into a mentorship and then decide? You can do all of this, by the way. Literally, the 12 episode I'm launching right now has got everything step-by-step process, because my goal is to help over 1,000 operators actually understand this fully, so then they can make a better decision on how they grow their business. But secondly, some of this data and some of this prompt, by the way, I tried this so many times with clients, because we get clients giving us data, and then sometimes places like Manchester, places like Liverpool, Birmingham, it actually doesn't give us the right enough information for us to go and action. So for me right now, this has been the best tool to get some sort of data and then take that data into action. So here you go. It's given me such an amazing data. Now, it says the realistic occupancy rate for one bed is like 49 to 55% across all listing. Now that already says me, oh, that's a problem. But that's average is dragged down by poor optimized and available properties. Top 25% of listing maintain 72%, and the best in class reach 85%. So you can see it's already given you amazing data. So how do you mitigate, right? You can literally ask it, by the way, how do you mitigate going down to this bottom part of the listing? How do you make sure you're in that top 10%? It will give you amazing information, but here you go. Dynamic pricing, superhost status, 65 to 72% is a realistic annual target. So now you've got enough data. Now, however, this is something concerning. Supply in Bath grew by 27.2%. That's taken over a lot of market share within a short space of time. Who's actually booking? Amazing data, by the way. Again, couples on weekend break, international tourists, festival goers, university families, wellness seeker, because there's spa and all that kind of stuff. So it's giving you a screenshot of what it looks like, but it's not talking about the information that I know, which is how to attract business, corporate, contractors. What do you need to do in your properties to be able to, actually take them on board as well when it's winter season? Because you need to understand all of this to be able to set up your property properly, right? Now, calendar, it says demand across the year. It talks about dead season, January, minus 30%. Slow season, Feb to March, 35 to 40. Obviously, it gets better in April, high between now all the way till June. peak July and August, peak September, and then it kind of comes down. It's a fantastic data, by the way. Like, not only that, it's given me all this information. So for you as an operator, again, I'm always thinking about, you know, the people that come and work with me without having this information, gone into a mentorship. You know, don't get me wrong, mentorship will allow you to get some information, but nowhere near to what you're getting right now for £20, right? So the community side, which is sometimes I believe is a great thing to have, but you need this before you go into a community with people that actually are doing this business and being able to understand where you sit within them. Because one of the things I see with community is you'll feel like you're left out or you haven't taken enough action, because out of 100 people, there's like 10 people really shouting about how well they're doing, right? But all the 90s are going to be in the same boat, and those 90 people need this information not to be in a community. See, compare that to London, where there is 90 days cap kicks for entire homes. Bath has actually got no cap. Bath at the moment, you can see from the figures, it just isn't about like the numbers, the paper number. You can actually hit it. And also look, that's a healthy demand calendar, by the way. Most UK cities have 1 strong season and 3 quiet one. Bath has 4 working season. Again, the first reason why I say is most obviously hosts keep it a secret, but once you know how to nail the winter season, you're definitely winning. See, now we're gonna move to step number 2, which is competition. And this is where most hosts actually get it wrong, because they look at how many Airbnbs are in the city, they see the big number, and then they start panicking. See, that is the wrong question. Now I'm gonna take you to Claude and we're gonna ask a couple of specific questions about Bath and see what it gives us. All right, so I'm gonna ask saying, for Bath in 2026, how many Airbnb listings roughly? What's the split between professional operator and potentially casual host? And honestly, is the market saturated or is there still a room, right? Again, these are the information that's going to get, don't get me wrong, don't take this as 100% of the data, because it's enough from what you can see and obviously the facts of the market, but then there is things that you can do differently, right? Especially most operators are not educated around how to get quality bookings. And so look, how many listings are live? Obviously from reliable data, it says Bath has about like 1,363 total listings. That's made up from up to 1,000 plus entire homes. Obviously some being private rooms, people let rooms, and then some being 32 service department. Not exactly sure how they're doing that because it's entirely homes are the exact same thing. An earlier data source, September 2024, it showed that Bath actually had 1,896 listings. So it looks like, because it says the wider county area. So realistically, working number for Bath itself is between, obviously it's not going to give you the exact figure, but it's giving you the ballpark figure, which is amazing. Now, professional version, so there's no specific published, but the pattern, okay, 90% of Airbnb hosts are individual or casual hosts, just single listing, that's the baseline. However, most valuable row, cool, amazing. And then lastly, the current trend is investors are building a micro portfolio between 3 to 10 properties on a high demand areas and dominating occupancy. Could be a rent-to-rent operators like yourself. So, cool, in Bath, you're likely to get about 70 to 75% casual single listing. Amazing. And then obviously they're property managers, management company. Is it saturated? Honestly, no. Now I love this answer, but obviously the competition is going to be big and it's getting very sharper. The positive signal says Bath has 68% median. Yeah, and by the way, these people are not massively trying with their occupancy. These are just people listing their property on Airbnb and booking.com. Obviously, Bath ranks as second most profitable city in the UK after London, which by the way, I didn't know. And I've got like a confession to make at the end that kind of makes sense why. And then Bath currently has, again, it's not legally, it's not, you know, there isn't a lot of stuff that you have to be worried about. Operationally, it's flexible. Obviously London, places like Edinburgh, there's so many things, they're cracking down on listings for short-term rentals. So again, really great data. something that you can run in your investment area, but easy enough prompt, which I'm gonna leave in my school community that you can go and get from. See, right? So Bath, around that kind of figure, 1100 to like 1400, whatever, sounds a lot, but until you realize most of them are like casual owners renting their spare room, retired couples doing it occasionally because they've been told, or people who've been never printed like a guest welcome book and it's very personalized. They're sending them a text message or WhatsApp. Now in every city, by the way, I've worked in, the difference between like the top 20% of listing and the bottom 80% isn't the location, isn't the property, but it's actually the operators themselves. And effectively, if you run a listing in Bath with like proper photos, fast replies, real welcome experience, you will probably outbook 70% of the city without even trying, by the way. And the competition isn't about number. I guess it's all about the quality. See, right now, the bit I promised you at the start of the video, right? The payoff, potentially the postcode, which means Bath has about dozens of postcodes, and most hosts actually assume that the one you want is BA1, which is like central, walkable, to Roman Bath, right? Logical, but very expensive. Now I'm gonna take you to Claude and we're gonna do an exercise again. Look, these are the things, we've gone from data, occupancy, all this starts to add up. At the end, you're gonna have all this information ready. So let me take you to Claude now and let's ask some specific postcode related questions. Okay, now in Bath, which postcode gives the best Airbnb income per pound spent on property in 2026? Compare BA1, BA2, any surrounding area. Now just don't look at the headline rate, look at the price to income ratio. Now, where does 15K to 25K go the furthest, right? The idea here is to get as much as information based on the potential investment that you're gonna make, but also be able to understand what postcode that you can utilize, because most cities that you go through, I work with a lot of probably 80% rent-to-rent clients. They're always focused on, I need my property to be in central. Yes, it needs to be central depending on obviously where you're investing, but you also need to be able to understand, firstly, is that second postcode or third postcode in terms of the ratio? You might earn less, but you're also spending less, right? So what now this is going to do, as you can see, is it's taking its time to give you the best data. Going back to what I said earlier, the idea here is to be able to do this market research on your own without you having to worry about going into a mentorship, even spending £3,000 for no reason, because by the time you get, let's say you choose like 5 locations in the UK and you've run the exact same thing that I have for £20 a month, really, this will give you enough data then to decide, do you need to go into mentorship where they're gonna help you actually go and secure a unit, and obviously based on all of this data that you're gonna have, you're gonna make a better decision. Okay, so amazing, like you can see, firstly, by the way, the amount of data Claude actually gives you to make decision. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scroll down right at the bottom because it's gonna give me the bottom line figures. So it's telling me, firstly, obviously this is, by the way, on purchase, which effectively you can run this on a rent-to-rent, do that as well, because then you can say, I'm a rent-to-rent operator, this is what I'm investing, but you can see, it says what you're gonna purchase for, it says how much potential revenue that's gonna make you, and it's gonna give you the best ratio, right, on yield. But this is the beauty, right? This is BA2, BA3, and BA4. BA1 is strong, but then it's not as strong as what you'd like. The further down, you can see it says BA2, and then it gives you a location, it says 67. Good income, compressed yield, right? And it then also tells you certain part of BA21, it says why it's not the best yield, obviously property price being low, but what a way, also to a point, it says where to avoid. So this data is probably enough. I can run this, by the way, I can just say, hi, amazing information, thank you, but I am doing rent to rent, so could you just run me a quick bottom line summary of this too, right? might take me 5 minutes. I'm actually going to share this right at the end of the video. Now, this is the last part about the confession. Now, I'll be honest with you about something, right? I often get leads for owners struggling with their Airbnb and not maximizing bookings from all over the UK, right? But I never get someone from Bath directly, and those locations always says me something. Look, I've worked with a few management companies who have happened to have units in Bath, so I actually fell into working in this location. But this is how I got a big insight on the location and how amazing leverage has been for Airbnb operators in this specific area. But that work taught me a lesson, which is the operators are failing as years go by. Less profit, taking random bookings as they come. But also the properties outside central location can sometimes be as powerful, and their properties outside a central did a lot better. The headline postcode really is the smart postcode for me. And see, look, Bath has a kind of growing pressure around the short let rules like planning, council tax and business rates treatment. So, don't frame it as buy anywhere and Airbnb will just work. And yes, don't get me wrong, there is new self-catering accommodations like council tax for at least like the first 140 days, and before that you have to move into your business rate. So those challenges will always scare a lot of operators. Now, you might be sat there thinking, cool, I don't want to do Bath, and which is fair enough, by the way. But here's the thing. See, the exact same process, research process, works for every city. Every single one, by the way. So you just swap to the city and Claude prompt and they will just do it for you. Okay, now I'm gonna finalize this part where I'm gonna ask it as a market research based on like, is it realistically occupancy rate for like a one bed, like a well one bed? What's the average nightly rate for that kind of seasonal calendar? I'm gonna ask for top 3 demand, like what drives me information. Number 4, I'm gonna talk about listing volumes and rough split, pros and cons, and then maybe top 3 postcodes that, year way around, right? So there's a couple of questions I'm gonna prompt Claude and let it to work. Okay, I'm gonna say act as a UK Airbnb market research for, and I can put a random, let's go Cambridge, for example, right? In 2026. Give me realistic occupancy rate. You can see what I'm asking. There's like 6 or 7 questions that I'm asking. And I'm gonna prompt it. Now this is the goal. The goal is to be able to run this exact prompt in your probably top 5 locations, and within 10 minutes, 5 minutes, you're gonna have a full data ready for you. Well, look, Claude is working as we speak. It's got me so much information about occupancy rate. It's gonna talk to me about the nightly rate per kind of season, right? This is something that most operators, I personally, even today, when I ask them, when I work with them, I say, okay, can you give us a data? They just give us a flat rate. They give us an indication. They don't actually have this correct data, right? So yeah, amazing. Like what drives traffic to the business, how many listing there is available in Cambridge. Yeah, fantastic. Like top 3 postcode, amazing information. Obviously some issues around, or potential issues around planning or whatever that's gonna come through. See, run this yourself tonight, right? And the prompt is sitting on my free school community. The link is below. Just copy it, run it, and literally sleep on the answers. And here's the thing about your market research. It used to be £500 for a report from a property management company, or a 3,000 mentorship that handheld you throughout it. Today, in less than 9-10 minutes of this video, Claude will do exactly the same, and for probably what, £20. See, the work is no longer research. The work is actually the deciding, and that's still on yourself, obviously based on the data, right? And don't get me wrong, right? People or community will have live examples of what works or doesn't, as I would have done it myself, because with working with so many clients, you're always paying for a personal one-to-one touch and the delivery. But to gather this detailed info, you have AI, which does 10 times better than what I do and most of the people that's gonna give you information. All right. So as I promised earlier, at the end of the video, I wanted to show you this, but this is the rent to rent bottom line figure, because there you go. What rent are you paying? What's the potential gross revenue? And what's the potential margin? So now you can see, obviously the BA1 central, BA2 2 bed and 2 bed, 3 beds on BA2, this is what you're gonna pay, this is what potential. So you've got enough information then to figure out what potential net revenue, because remember, this hasn't taken your bills and all that kind of stuff. So always make sure that you've understanding this process well, so then you can do, again, I can go further and ask a right question, but this is a great enough information for us to get some good indication of if the unit's gonna perform. So there's 3 things to do right now. Number 1, if you can please hit the subscribe so you catch up the next episode, which is number 6. We're using Claude to run live ROI calculator, plug in your numbers, and get an answer in 2 minutes about those properties, if it's gonna work or not. Number 2, there is a link in the description for a free school community. All I'm doing here is all of this data, people go and watch it in different places. Just go in there, I've added everything in one place. You connect to a lot of other operators. Number 3, if you want a property mentor like this, just pay Claude £20. That's what I've done, right? I've paid Claude. And that's why I say to my clients, thank you so much for watching another Grow Your B&B video. See you in episode number 6.